Well, Lord Chief Justice Sir Brian Leveson, I'm sure a name you remember from the Leveson inquiry, is a retired senior judge who has been asked by the government to come up with proposals to tackle the record court's backlog. I sat down with him a little earlier, and I started by asking him how cutting some jury trials would affect that backlog.
Let me make it clear, I am not blaming jury trials at all. I am a great believer in trial by jury, but trials with a jury take very much longer than trials conducted otherwise than with 12 people who are utterly unused to criminal procedure and criminal evidence. So my concern is that we need to get through cases quicker.
Is there any way of quantifying that?
Well, my own view, for what it's worth, is different to the analysts who prepared some of the graphs in this review. So they spoke to the court service and they spoke to some judges and concluded that 20% saving in time would result. My view is that you would save a great deal more time than 20%. You only need to think about it.
How much more time do you think?
Well, I've got the experience of a district judge magistrates court who tried rape cases in the youth court and also sat as a recorder in the Crown Court with a sex ticket and tried similar rape cases in the Crown Court and concluded that in the youth court they could be concluded in half the time. So I think there's a substantial saving, but I can't quantify it. All I can do is recommend pulling as many levers as possible, because to my mind, for victims and witnesses to have to wait 4 or 5 years for a trial, and make no mistake, we are listing cases into late 2029 and in some cases I've heard about early 2030. That's unacceptable.
Have you been surprised by the level of outrage, I think it's fair to call it outrage, from many people? You know, the Criminal Bar Association, the Bar Council, 9 former Attorney Generals or Solicitor Generals all saying that this is a bad idea.
Well, I'm gaining no pleasure from it, but what I say to all of them is, if not this, then what? How do we reduce the backlog so the victims and witnesses get their day in court within a reasonable time?
Would you want a trial by jury if you'd been wrongly accused of, say, theft?
If I'd been wrongly accused of theft, I'd be perfectly happy for a judge to decide I'd been wrongly accused of theft.
With all this pressure on the justice system, would it be better to keep jury trials?
Well, I don't see how you're going to bring down the backlog without more money, more sitting days, greater efficiency and speedier trials. So I'm very conscious that a number of people, the bodies you've mentioned, have said, oh, it's ridiculous, just increase the number of sitting days. But there aren't the judges, there aren't the court staff. More significantly, there aren't the advocates. So last year, 1,100 cases were found to be ineffective. In other words, they couldn't go on, not because there wasn't a defendant, not because there weren't witnesses, not because there wasn't court space, but because there wasn't an advocate either to prosecute or defend the case. So we need to grow more advocates and get them experience to do the heavier work, and we need to grow those advocates in part to become future judges. The criminal justice system is in a calamitous state, and it is, unless we're very careful, a burning platform.
Do you think it's ever been in such a calamitous state as it is now?
Absolutely not. And I have been involved in judicial management as the senior presiding judge in 2007, so I've been involved in that type of work between then and 2019 when I retired as a judge. And I've watched the backlog grow. Now, of course, COVID had a great deal to do with it. And there are other causes for the enormous delays that there are now in trials. But those delays are real, and they're not going to get better. So you might have thought that in the last year, when everybody knew I was thinking about this, I've made no secret about my concerns and about how I couldn't see a way through other than this, that everybody would be pulling every stop to improve efficiency and to deal with cases so as to bring the backlog down. In fact, the backlog has increased in the last year above the higher projection in my review. So our situation is getting worse, not better.